Jost, you can go ahead and start the live stream. And Marty, go right ahead.
Great. Okay, welcome everybody. The January 27th, 2021 Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting is now in session. It's noted for the record that commissioners are attending this meeting via a web meeting and a quorum of commissioners is present for today's meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the internet and a link is posted on the Oregon Lottery website. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Patel.
Here.
Commissioner Telfer.
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox.
Here.
Chair Sathoff.
Here. Will the clerk please inform the commission of who else is in the meeting?
Yes, we have Taylor Paulson, Jost Tyvedo, Nate Carter, Janelle Simmons, Kathy Ortega, Kathy Stromberg, Carrie Hemphill, Chris Scaro, Matt Shelby, Mike Wells, Sar Richards, Ty Calandrello, and Tina Erickson.
Great. Members of the public have the opportunity to provide written public comment to the commission for this meeting. Elisa, I didn't actually see that you were sent us anything, so I guess first I'll check. Did we receive anything? And if so, I'll go on with having you read that.
No, we did not receive any public comment.
That's what I thought. So we won't have that read then into the record. And so with that, I think we'll move to Commissioner Communications, starting with Commissioner Patel, who is going to give us the Audit Committee activity report.
For the year ending December 31st, 2020, the Audit Committee fulfilled its responsibilities that were outlined in our charter. The committee met 4 times during the year, and some of the activities that were included in those meetings were reviewed action taken on audit findings, and we followed up with management. We heard reports on the lottery's ERM or Enterprise Risk Management process. We reviewed reports from the Oregon Audits Division's financial aid results. And we did receive regular updates from Robert and his team on internal audit activities. And then just before this meeting, we reviewed and approved Internal Audit's annual audit plan. Part of the reviews that we did review over the last year and consulting engagements that were performed by the lottery's internal audit department included a cybersecurity risk assessment, potential financial viability criterion for evaluating retailer contract applications, Visa card program review, and the annual follow-up of review of open audit recommendations. The internal audit's work for the reporting period included examinations of the efficiency and effectiveness of lottery operations, the effectiveness of lottery's internal controls, and compliance with various laws, rules, and policies and procedures. We plan to meet 4 times again this next year as well as review our charter. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Marlene. With that, are there any other commissioner communications, anything that commissioners would like to discuss this time? Hearing none, we'll move to the director's report. Director Pack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy New Year to everybody. Wanted to start off with some lottery news on the toy drive. Despite the fact that most of our lottery employees are working remotely, staff still managed to provide much needed toys for the annual toy drive benefiting Toys for Tots. Like most people this year, staff leaned heavily on online shopping and leave it to lottery staff to make the most of our resources. Because COVID restrictions virtually eliminated large group events, lottery had no use for $1,500 in Visa gift cards originally purchased for promotional giveaways. They were set to expire in April, so lottery donated them to the drive to purchase additional toys. Despite the challenges that many lottery staff faced in 2020, both at home and at work, I'm proud that so many of us were able to pitch in for kids in Oregon this year. If you were to drive by the building these days, you'll see some construction happening in the player services area. Last month, I reported about a coming project to add a new door and secure drop box in our payment center. And I'm pleased to report work has begun. Sidewalks leading to the door and the new walk-up window and drop box have now been poured. And we're on track to complete both the capital improvements and launch the digital lottery by early April, depending on public health guidance. As a reminder, the scheduling app and new entrants will allow us to control both the volume and flow of traffic through the player services area. And for winners who don't want to come inside and don't want to rely on the US mail, the secure drop box allows players to safely submit their winning tickets with a completed claim form. In mid-December, we launched a new Second Chance feature on our mobile app and upgraded the corresponding experience on OregonLottery.org. This greatly improved the process for players to enter their non-winning scratch-it tickets for a chance to win an additional top prize. Chad Barnes is here with an update later in the meeting, but I wanted to commend all the staff from across Lottery that contributed to this rollout. Customers expect us to work across their various departments to provide them the best experience possible. In this case, we did just that. And then, of course, the legislative session has kicked off just last week, and like most things these days, it's virtual. While they'll still meet in person for floor sessions, committee meetings and other work will occur via Zoom. Lottery did not introduce any bills this session, but we will monitor the session and keep you informed of any proposed statutory changes that could impact us. Moving on to a sales update, staff have a detailed review of our product sales on the agenda today, so I'll not steal their thunder, but instead I will just mention new guidance announced yesterday for restaurants, bars, and taverns that have VLTs. Beginning Friday, restaurants and bars in extreme risk counties that offer outdoor dining, takeout, or delivery service will be allowed to have some patrons indoors to play video lottery. Staff are working through the implications of this revised guidance, and we haven't seen a final version yet to be able to know exactly what will be coming, but we will be prepared to implement whatever reopening we can come Friday. I'll provide more information at a later date as we work through the implementation, but this new development will bring in some much needed revenue and may help some of our retailers survive the ongoing public health crisis. And I'll wrap up today with a couple winner stories. It's always exciting to win a big prize playing lottery games, and it's a rare occurrence when a player can claim to be a repeat winner. Thanks to winning a $50,000 prize in the lottery's Second Chance Scratch-It drawing, Peter Gilbert of Beaverton can do just that. Gilbert is no stranger to winning lottery's Second Chance Scratch-It drawing. In May 2016, he says, I won $10,000 in the Second Chance drawing. So when I told a friend of mine that I'd won $50,000 this time, he decided to call me Repeat. Ha 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 ha. Okay. When Gilbert claimed his latest lottery prize on January 14th, he said he hoped for a three-peat by winning Mega Millions or Powerball. Hasn't happened yet, but best of luck, Pete. And then Lori Longhorn, manager of the Shortstop #1 in Hermiston, thinks she will see even more customers this week after her store sold a $100,000 winning Powerball ticket last week. Quote, the higher the jackpots get, the more people come in, Longhorn said. Well, with this news, we might see even more people. Bradley Plate of Hermiston purchased his winning ticket at the Shortstop #1 in Hermiston. Plate's Powerball ticket for the Saturday, January 9th Powerball drawing matched 4 of the white ball numbers, leaving 1 white ball number and the Powerball number unmatched. So by matching these 4 numbers and wisely adding the Power Play multiplier option, Plate's $50,000 prize was doubled to $100,000. And that concludes my report for the month, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Barry. With that, we're going to move to the minutes of the previous commission meeting. The minutes of the previous commission meeting have been circulated to the commission in advance of the meeting. If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes of the Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting held on December 18th, 2020 be approved as final as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Before the clerk calls the roll, I just wanted to note that there's a comment I have on page 2 under the bullets regarding the statistics that were recited at the last meeting. It's not it's not significant. So I'm going to just send a note afterwards and ask Kathy to check one of the statistics provided. And with that, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Satthoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. Thank you. Shall we hear from Kathy on the financial report?
Yes, good afternoon, Chair Satthoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Kathy Ortega, Chief Financial Officer for the Oregon Lottery, and we're here to look over the financial report as of December 2020. Flipping to the first page, which is the operating statement for the month of December, on the revenue line, you'll see the ongoing impact of the closures of bars and restaurants in Oregon with a negative $71.2 million shortfall from the original or from the budget on revenue. We do have a couple of negative variances going up and down the P&L. Just mentioning on tickets, advertising, and sales support, we did have a banner revenue month for our Scratch product, and those variances just are indicative of some additional spending in support of those products, which December is a very good month to begin with. And with the pandemic, there is some player activity going towards that product. So there's been some increased spending. Salaries, wages, and benefits is just a slight budgeting difference, as we are positive, as you'll see on the year-to-date basis. And our net profit was short of budget by $51.3 million. Looking at the year-to-date, on our revenue line, we are $94.9 million short of our target budget for the year-to-date through December. All of the categories of spending are positive, and our net profit was under projection by 74.1, almost 74.2 million. Services and supplies, just mentioning, you'll see under the retailer network recovery that we are absorbing for the 2-month period that we previously reported to you, the telco charges for our retailers while they are shut down. The other categories of spending here are just minor timing differences. I do have the balance sheet here for you today to take a look at. And given that we are at the end of the second quarter, I also have the capital outlay report, which indicates that on the original budget of 75.6 million, we spent 32.6 million, the bulk of which is on the Aurora rollout, which you've heard a lot about and is going as planned. And we have a remainder for the rest of the year on this capital budget of 42.9, almost 43 million. One other comment that I will make today in conjunction with the financial report, we did do a quarterly review of our budget for the second quarter to look and see if we were going to remain on target. I don't have anything for you to approve today because I'm happy to report that we had some savings. We are not going to exceed any of the budget all the way down to the net profit line. We are going to come in a little bit lower. And so I'm just letting you know that we did do that exercise and that we are still on track with the budget that was originally approved. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Kathy, I have a question. This is Chris. On our working capital balance, which is now down to 75, and we're planning on getting it back to 100. Do we have a plan in place to do that? I mean, have we looked at how going forward? Because obviously, if we're keeping funds, the legislature's not getting them. So I just wondered what is our plan?
Well, I would respond to that by saying that the plan would comprise both revenue and expense, which are, the two contributors to that. We've already cut expenses as much as we can. What we're hoping for is that revenue comes back strong and that will help us in turning this back around. But I cannot tell you exactly when that will happen. We haven't seen any projections on the revenue numbers or what this new, any of these new lessening of restrictions mean for us. Barry, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say Commissioner Telfer, when we have more details around what will be re-enabled as we move forward, we'll be able to give you some better estimates of what happens to that contingency fund. If you remember, the flow of funds with us is the transfers, additional transfers don't occur to the state until that contingency fills itself back up to 100. The transfers that are based off of actual sales automatically transfer regardless of what's in the contingency. That contingency only refills if we have excess revenues than expenditures, and then you either decide to keep them administratively for investment purposes if the contingency is full, or you transfer it as an additional administrative savings at the end of the fiscal year. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, I just didn't know if we're looking at a little bit each year till it builds up, or, obviously it's a policy of the commission that we set. And so I would assume we're going to have to revisit that at some point. And I was just kind of bringing it to light. Chances are I won't be on the commission anymore to raise that awareness. So I'm just kind of using this opportunity to do that.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm sorry I cut out for just a minute, so I hope I'm not repeating anything. I guess the other related, Chris, to your question that I'm posing, we do have a policy of 100 million in the working capital. And I guess one of the things as we're building this or as we're looking at this, I would want us to revisit whether we think that's sufficient. I'm not suggesting it's not, but we've had a number of unexpected events last year, and clearly looking at the revenues from the end of last year, we took a huge dip due to some of these issues. So I would like it when we're looking at this working capital that we think again about whether or not the 100,000 is sufficient, and if it's not, if there's action we can take to increase that, and or if we think it's more than sufficient, long-term action we can take to adjust it. So I appreciate, Chris. I was looking at that too. Again, I don't have I don't know that I have a direction one way or the other. Just that I think we need to look at it and figure out what we're doing there.
Well,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I concur, and because I did want to see the commissioners discuss possibly increasing it, just because of the new era we've entered. The expenditures are much different than they have been under the old traditional way of doing lottery, and so yeah, I would affirm what you've just said.
Great. And I think it's unsaid. It's gone unsaid, but I want to make sure that the revenue variance we're seeing is due to that second sort of more stringent freeze we just went through. It appears to me from all of the materials you sent us. If it's other than that, maybe you can clarify that, Kathy. But it looks like that's what it is.
That's what it is. That's the majority. We did see some nice scratch it revenues, and we did have rolls on Powerball and Mega Millions, but it's not enough to compensate for the drop that we had from the closures of the bars and restaurants.
Right. That's what it looks like. All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll start the motion. Is that anybody else? Okay, is there a motion to approve the monthly financial statements?
I move that the Oregon State Lottery financial statements for month ended December 31st, 2020 be approved for the record as presented today.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Satthoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. Kathy, is that, do you have more you want to talk to us about?
No, that's what I have for you today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move to the staff updates.
Good afternoon, Chair Sathoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Tina Erickson, and I am the Lottery Products Portfolio Manager at the Oregon Lottery. Today, we are going to be sharing information on our Q2 of our product performances. There are a number of other folks that will be presenting as we get to their slides. So the first section is about lottery products and how we've performed. Scratch-its, again, we are having some record breakers. What we're seeing for sales for the week of Christmas, we achieved super high sales there. They were 42% over our best week of sales, which was in 2016. And just as a little note, those sales at that time were just over $4 million. We also recorded our best December ever. And with that almost $22.4 million sales month, we bested our 2015 record. And at that time, we had sales of about $12 million. So we are seeing quite a bit of increase. Again, that is really due where we are seeing play transitioning from possibly our video players over to our scratch games. Some other points that I wanted to make was really that our $20 price point is doing very well, and it contributed to the overall holiday sales of about 25%. We also see that our Scratch-It sales are up for our new player-operated kiosks. And as a reminder, those are part of the Aurora project. And we have a little over 300 of these terminals that were deployed. And so we are seeing sales increase there. And as you can see, it's about 31% compared to last year. Due to the,
Can I interrupt and ask a question about that?
Yeah.
That increase in sales, is that due to because we have more machines out there, they're located differently, or it's more attractive machine? I mean, do we know why our sales are up 30.7%?
Exactly. We brought on Walmarts, so we have some additional locations. They are new attractive terminals, and for Walmarts, we can house 20 more scratch games there. For the rest of the retailers who used to have the old terminals, we now went from 24 games that we're housing up to 28. So these terminals are much more interactive. And we also know that with this transition of play moving from VLTs to our scratch, that's probably contributing to that as well with holiday. So those sales may stabilize a little bit, but when you're looking at December sales, for a player operated terminal, that's what we saw. So I think there's a couple of things contributing to that, Chris.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. We also had some equipment that we needed to install in the January timeframe. We have some retail locations, again, that are closed due to the impact of COVID. And we are working to get those remaining terminals installed because we've got about 5 weeks left before we actually convert over to the Aurora system. So right now we are still planning with a go live of March 7. And then Second Chance, we have entries that are being accepted through our mobile app, but Shad is going to share some interesting information on that within this update. So any other questions on Scratch? So moving along, Keno, again, it's tied very closely to our video lottery sites, and we are seeing that decline in sales as well as transfers. We did have a couple of bright spots where we had some high 8-spot rolling jackpots on Keno in December and January. So we see that little blip in sales, but they are starting to fall back down. And as the first shutdown, played out, we are seeing our customers moving their gameplay from bars and taverns over to convenience and grocery. Jackpot games, you can see sales and transfers were up, and that was due to those massive size jackpots that we had, which was awesome. We've got combined Powerball and Mega Millions was over $1 billion, and actually Mega Millions ended up being over $1 billion when it was hit on the 22nd of this month. Powerball ended up at about 731 million. And then part of that mix was Oregon's game Megabucks. The jackpot when it was hit was actually at 7.4 million. So they were all kind of hit consecutively, the 20th, 22nd, and 23rd. And then I wanted to give it just a really quick update. I think previously I had mentioned that we'll be adding a third drawing to our Powerball game that's going to happen in August. And really, the reason behind adding this third drawing is the declining nationwide sales combined with lower interest rates. So it's really introduced some concerns for our jackpots. And the Powerball Games Group has felt that this would be the easiest change to make with some expected results of added sales to fund larger jackpots, faster growing jackpots, and that sort of thing. Plus, it is the easiest change to communicate. So the other thing is it is a product because we are part of this Powerball group that we have to make this change in order to keep this product within our portfolio. And that is what I have for lottery products. Any questions?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, I was just saying thanks, Tina. And I was going to see if anyone had questions, but go ahead.
All right. So I will be the driver for the rest of the show. So those who are needing, just say next slide, please, and I'll know when to move on. So we're going to do video products now.
Cool. Thank you, Tina. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Sarah Richards. I am the manager for video gaming products here at Oregon Lottery, and I'll be presenting the video lottery update. Tina, next slide, please. As talked about earlier, video lottery revenue is down due to the COVID restrictions. The graph speaks for itself. We are down quite a bit to our forecast. What the graph doesn't show is some of the positives that we're seeing out there. On the right, you see some of the counties that have been allowed to open during the various stages of the COVID restrictions. And when counties are up and the VLTs are playable, we are seeing a year-over-year positive, meaning there's greater revenue coming from those VLTs as they're brought up compared to last year, which gives us good hope as we move forward to potentially opening up more retailers and enabling more VLTs.
Sir, what is that phenomena? Is that, I hesitate to say, is that people like pent up demand and they're sort of like, all right, I didn't spend my entertainment lottery during December, so I've got more this month. Can you explain that to me?
I can try. And we actually had a meeting with one of the vendors today and where we talked about just that. One of the is contributing that people do have more money in their pockets, essentially, Americans aren't the best at saving, but there haven't been a lot of options for Oregonians and Americans in general to spend their entertainment budgets. And then as possibilities open up, allowing them to play, they enjoy playing video lottery. They get the opportunity to play, and they do come in, and sometimes they bring in new people or introduce it to new people to play as well. So it's kind of a mix of people spending a little bit more, and even more encouraging is the potential of more people being introduced to it as a fun entertainment option. I hope that answered that well enough. So also contributing to that upswing is when the VLTs were up and available last fall, we did launch 2 games that are extraordinarily popular. I should say relaunch 2 games that are extraordinarily popular with players, Lucky Lemmings and Super 8 Race, onto 2 terminals that were lagging behind some of our top performers, which helped bring up those lower performers to being stronger performers. And that really helped us with the revenue as the counties open up. And the counties that are listed, the way we distributed the Helix, the new Aristocrat terminal, is actually in some of the counties opened up, and the Go team was actually able to put out another 40 of those Aristocrats into the field, and they're very strong performers, and they're continuing to perform extraordinarily well. So that's another thing helping contribute to that bump up, especially in those counties. I know I went through that fairly quickly. Any questions on that before I jump to before we move to the next slide? Cool.
I'm good.
Here on this slide, we did have that gap where we know where the counties were shut down. And during that same time, we've been working on our intelligent upgrade. And that actually afforded us a great opportunity to push out the upgrade while the VLTs were down, which greatly diminished any impact on the retailers and the players. And at this point, the intelligence system's running very well. We're coming very close to acceptance period on it. And then we'll start looking at those next value adds, which were the real benefit of moving to baseline 8, and that includes the ticket in, ticket out, responsible gaming features, and the associated PUI, the player user interface, and then MMJ, which has the greatest revenue impact of that. We are planning that out. Obviously, we're working with EPMO as resources are available, because we're also competing, I shouldn't say competing, but we have other projects in flight right now with the AXD 365 development that has the same resources. So we're moving ahead with Intelligent, and it looks very positive overall with that. Any questions on Intelligent or the video lottery product? Cool. Well, that's all I had. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll leave Carrie is next.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Okay, I guess we do Carrie and scoreboards.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Chair, Commissioners, Director Pack, for the record, my name is Carrie Hemphill. I am the manager for the sports betting product. I'm here today to give you a scoreboard product update for the last quarter. For the last quarter, system-wise, Scoreboard has been a very sound product. The focus during Q2 was to maintain a stable system, driving to good performance. We worked out some performance kinks at the end of Q1, and so our goal was to keep things running smoothly, and I believe we achieved that. And with the steadiness from a systems perspective, we were able to focus on player support, communication, and some promotions. The main takeaway when looking back at the final 3 months of 2020 was that it was hands down a record quarter for Scoreboard. The product saw increases in number of bets, turnover, margins, GGR, and unique active players. Turnover or handle was originally forecasted slightly higher than actualized, which was largely due to shifts in the monthly landscape of major sports league and event availability due to COVID-related schedule changes. But with that said, Scoreboard continued to proceed through the months with momentum, and we saw Q2 have an increase in turnover from Q1 of over $18 million. During the last quarterly, yep.
Sorry, Carrie, Are you saying, or are you implying at some point that we got a bump as well from COVID here?
No, because of the schedule delays. Because
I
of sports
see.
league schedule delays and availability, we had less available during that time. And so although our forecasted amount is higher than what actual was, we did still see a bump above Q1, but we had forecasted not assuming
Right.
schedule delays because of COVID.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. During the last quarterly product update, I told you at the time the month of September had the highest turnover recorded at over 26 million, with August falling a close second. Expanding from that, up until this current month, Q2's October hit the top position by posting a monthly turnover figure at over 29.4 million. But even growing from there, to give you a current update, we are tracking our current position in January to be the single highest monthly turnover figure ever for Scoreboard, right now at over 30 million, with a handful of days still left in the month. In fact, we closed out the year with the 5th straight month where turnover exceeded 25 million, and we begin Q3 adding one more to that list. So we're looking at the 6th straight month. Continuing on positive news, there have been very favorable margins over the past few months, resulting in a Q2 margin of 11.4%, which took GGR well above the forecasted mark of 5.7 million. This past November and December recorded the first and second highest monthly GGR to date. And for the quarter, we closed GGR at just under 9.2 million. I would say that the recent growth was driven by tremendous interest in the NFL, which accounted for about 49% of turnover and 64% of GGR in the quarter. The proposition wagers for NFL continue to generate a lot of interest. And in addition to that, basketball also produced solid numbers with limited NBA action falling in the quarter, but still managed to be the second highest sport to turnover. The reason why I bring that up is what is impressive about the basketball over the last quarter is that with the growth, we didn't have NBA action in November and most of December, only getting 5 days worth of it of games at the end of the month of December, unlike 2019 where NBA had full schedules in both of those months. So despite the limited play, basketball generated over 13 million in handle in the past quarter. Rounding out the sport recap, soccer also enjoyed good growth, adding $2.6 million in bets over the previous quarter and a solid margin. And the ancillary sports also continue to impress with solid performance, with MMA being the biggest contributor to GGR. Registrations were moving along throughout the quarter, but overall relatively unexciting. To give December a bump in interest, we offered a variety of promotions for both new registration and returning players, which highlighted free bet offers. While the overall unique active player count was an increase in Q2 over Q1, we did see a bit of a drop in unique active players over the course of this past quarter, so from October to December. This is likely the result of natural attrition caused by the higher NFL margins, as well as the start of college football and basketball seasons, which Scoreboard doesn't currently offer. I believe this likely forced customers to seek out other betting platforms where both college and professional sports could be wagered. Looking ahead, if it follows last year's trend, and I'm hopeful that we will see, and I do think we are seeing a spike in registrations in the next week as we get closer to Super Bowl. And in addition, for the quarter or for the current Q3 timeframe, we are focusing on a full schedule of NBA and the restart of NHL hockey. So both of these schedules, pending any COVID adjustments, are set to run through March. So we should have an interesting next couple months, and I'm excited to see what the Q3 has to offer for Scoreboard. And that is my product update. Any questions?
Really interesting. It seems to be going in the right direction. Let's hope it continues. I know we haven't talked about this for a while, and so I hope I'm not misremembering, but I recall that a last year at some point, we discussed that there were a lot of customer issues with Scoreboard, but that I know that the team put in a really concerted effort and resources into solving customer feedback issues. Do you think that's, my assumption is we have been solving those issues. Do you think that's causing any of this gradual comeback?
Tremendously. That was our main focus at the end of Q1 into Q2, is to really make a very stable product, and knowing that the NFL and NBA were here, wanted to limit any of those issues. And since September or the end of August, and we had a product update done at that time, we have been very, very stable and haven't seen really much negative feedback from customers. So I do think that definitely plays a part. In addition to just people being at home and watching sports and finding stuff, that's what's out there to do at this point in time. So I think that also keeps it keeps it moving.
All right. Well, thanks, and great job by the team.
I have a question. What is GGR again, and how is that different than transfers?
So GGR itself is, oh, sorry, my phone went out for just a second. So GGR is the difference between the amount of money players wager minus the amount that they win. So it's it's revenue. It's what we keep. But
Yeah.
Barry, I'll have to have you explain the transfer side of that.
So the transfer side, the statute transfers net profits to the PERS unfunded liability programs. And so until we are able to recoup all of those initial investment costs, there's not actually an official, while we're seeing month-to-month profits, we're not seeing overall profits just yet. So the transfers have yet to begin. Does that answer your question?
It does, and so it leads to another question. Do we have, I know it's really hard to project anything during these hard times. Do we have an idea of when we will recover our costs so that we can start transferring? Are we talking at the end of the year, 2 years? I mean, do we have any sense?
That's a really good question, Chris, and I don't have the answer, so I'll have to get back to you on it.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, Chris, I agree. But you know what? Even if you all did a forecast that you adjusted over time, it would be interesting to see if the trend, if you could take this trend this last year and project it, when even if you level it out due to whatever adjustments this year you want to make, that would still be good to see when we might be conservative, but when we might. I'd like to see it too, if we can figure out a way to forecast that.
Yeah, we will work on that and report back.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for Carrie on this? Okay, I guess we're on second chance.
Good afternoon, Chair Safoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Chad Barnes. I'm the Senior Manager of Digital Marketing, and I'm here today to share some news and tremendous customer adoption of the newest enhancement to the Oregon Lottery mobile app, which is change to Second Chance. Some background on this. Second Chance has been a game for us at the lottery since 2013, and it was, since the launch of our app, it's been absolutely the #1 feature request for a couple years running since we launched the app. We got a lot of great feedback. We continue to have a 4.5-star average on both app stores around the mobile app, but consistently the question is always, how come I can't do Second Chance on here? So we've been pretty hard at work at this over the last year, and have now delivered this for our customers. So I will say just a little background on what the experience was before it went to the mobile app. It really involved about 18 digits of entry for a customer into typically a desktop computer, because we didn't have a scanning capability to do that. So it was a tenuous piece and wasn't beloved necessarily by our customers. It took a little extra work to get those non-winning tickets entered into the drawing for the second chance. Obviously, with this change, we've greatly improved that. And we can move to the next slide, Tina. Customers have been asking for it, and guess what? They were really happy it arrived. We greatly exceeded any of our forecasts, anything we could have dreamed in terms of adoption around registration and ticket entries for this game within the first 3 weeks. To the tune of more than 1.1 million second chance entries since 12/7 before the end of the month in December. What happened, right? So what we did is we created a few things within this change. We created a seamless single source sign-on for players. So what that means is we had a login for the mobile app. So if you as a customer had a login for the mobile app, you had an additional login for Second Chance. And we made it so that those were a single source login for customers, which makes the world much easier for them. Created a little customer service turbulence for us right at the beginning because people have new things and they ask a lot of questions. But as you can see from this graph, this chart kind of shows what Second Chance entry adoption looked like. And as we launched on 12/7, you can see it just skyrockets and absolutely goes through the roof around the Christmas holiday. But the trend didn't squeeze back down to what it was before. And then in terms of the lines that you see here, the blue is all entries. The yellow is website, which is the way we used to do this before, which we still have website entries. And then the mobile app entries are the gray. So you can see they really wanted this on the mobile app, and that was instantly a more popular option for entry into this game. We can move to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. So a few other notes. Sorry, Tina, we can go back to the other side. I forgot there was one list. We have a few other, kind of things that we'll be doing in the future. We have a roadmap that kind of moves us on. This whole change is really about customer engagement, giving players a little something extra for their dollar when they play these games. As you guys know, most times you don't win. And so this is just an extra bit of excitement and customer engagement. And we want to continue to kind of create more engagement opportunities within our app and as a piece of just our digital modernization efforts. So we will be piloting, exploring, adding draw games into some Second Chance component in the future. We'll be looking at adding more options into that single sign-on piece, what we call My Lottery, to create a more seamless lottery experience for our customers. And more than anything, with this tremendous adoption, we're listening and we're learning. Another big piece of this is we did in-source customer service. We used to outsource customer service on Second Chance in the past, which is giving us a closer view of customer insight, the things they like, the things they don't like. And it's giving us an ability to kind of make agile changes and truly continue to enhance that customer experience year over year over year. And I can just tell you, it's been very well received by our customers thus far, as the numbers will show. Any questions?
None for me. It looks like it was a good plan and it's working. Questions or comments from anyone else on the commission?
Great. Yeah. So Chair Safoff, I agree. In terms of good plan, one of the things I would also mention, very proud of, is the fact that this is a true cross-departmental effort for us. We're getting better and better at these de-siloed efforts across our teams, and truly, it was all hands on deck to make this the success that it was. So agreed. It was quite a good plan. Work through it.
Great job to everybody, and thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
So Tina, I'm assuming that that concludes our staff updates. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, and Carrie and Sarah and Chad. Great job. With that, I'm going to open the floor up. Is there other business from anyone that they'd like to raise at this time?
I just want to say the difficulty we have these days with COVID and conference calls and Zoom, et cetera. Barry, there was probably a lot of laughing when Pete was repeat It just seemed so dead, but I'm sure we were all having our own little chuckle.
I know, we're also conscious of going on mute when we're not talking. I did laugh, Barry. I honestly did.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Felt like a very flat joke.
Well, you tell us we're supposed to be on mute when we're not talking. Oh, good point, Chris. All right. Well, I heard no other business being raised, so this concludes today's meeting of the Oregon State Lottery Commission. The next meeting is scheduled for February 26th, and I thank you all for attending today's meeting. We are adjourned.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.